Please listen carefully.
After days, if not weeks, of bad press, Donald Trump finally had a short window to talk about some good news. Trump is behind Joe Biden in the polls, and the death toll from COVID-19 continues to rise. But Trump was also nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for the second time in his career. Norwegian politician Christian Tybring-Gjedde put Trump's name forward for the prize last week and also nominated him in 2018. The prize committee automatically accepts all nominations from politicians serving at the national level. This is not Norway endorsing Trump or a group of people endorsing Trump. This just seems to be how this fanboy, this Christian guy, tries to stay in Trump's good graces. It's not unusual for US presidents to get this award. Teddy Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson each won one. Jimmy Carter was awarded one in 2002. Way after his term as president. And of course, Barack Obama famously won the award in 2009, before his first year in office was finished, and really before he did anything presidential. Peace is still important and will always be important. But here's why the so-called Peace Prize is losing meaning and importance year after year. Because the committee accepts nominations from any national politician. In 1939, a member of the Swedish parliament actually nominated Adolf Hitler as a joke. The nomination was canceled, but was still accepted because it fit their rules. Former US Secretary of State and current war criminal Henry Kissinger has also won the Nobel Peace Prize. In 1973, both Kissinger and the leader of communist North Vietnam were selected for a joint Peace Prize. I'm going to say that one more time. Henry Kissinger has a Nobel Peace Prize. The man probably most responsible for burning Southeast Asia to the ground in the 1970s, with the blood of thousands, if not millions of civilians on his hands, was awarded and recognized for peace. And the members of the Trump administration have been all over cable news, gushing over Trump and the nomination as if he's already won it, sometimes bringing it up instead of answering questions about COVID or the economy or the election. Now, before I show you the 10,000 reasons why Trump doesn't deserve the award, I will give him a small amount of credit for actually trying peace in some situations in the past. When no one else in the US thought it was a good idea, Trump sat down with North Korea's Kim Jong-un and might have opened the door for North Korea and South Korea to start talking again. I also saw a stat in a couple of stories that said Trump is the first US president in almost 40 years to serve a term and not start a new war. Objectively true. Alright, so there's me being fair and the small amount of good Trump fans can make for his case. Now let's talk about the bad. Trump may not have started a war, but he damn sure tried these last 3 years. Former advisor and hater of all things peaceful, John Bolton, is no longer in the Trump administration, but when he was, the entire US came dangerously close to war with Iran on more than one occasion. We're still fighting with them over oil and fooling around with their ships in international waters, but the worst moment of the US-Iran feud was in January this year, when Trump ordered the execution of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Soleimani, the second most powerful person in Iran, was killed by a drone strike in Iraq, and the event was later called unlawful and illegal by the United Nations. After killing an important international figure, the Trump administration also tried to overthrow the government of Venezuela in May. A handful of retired Special Forces guys from Silvercorp, a Florida-based security company, crossed over the Colombian border with some local militia and failed immediately. Possibly because the Venezuelans had inside information about the operation. The operation was blown up when some fishermen spotted the invasion, if you want to call it that, and the Venezuelan government captured the Americans and killed some of the other operatives. You may remember John F. Kennedy tried something similar in Cuba with the famous Bay of Pigs invasion, which also failed horribly. I don't know what it is with presidents and trying to overthrow governments. It's not like we don't have enough to worry about here. Worry about your own country. And despite sitting down with Kim Jong-un to talk peace, Trump also has a long history of arguing with him on Twitter about whose nuclear weapons are bigger and scarier. And who knows how many times we've almost been dragged into World War III because of one of those stupid tweets at 3 a.m. between two kids arguing over who has better toys and whose dad would win in a fight. Which might seem like harmless fun to some people, but remember, there is an entire part of the world between us and North Korea that lives in fear of us starting a nuclear war, because they would be the first hit. In 2018, Hawaii sent out a false alarm with its missile early warning system, and everyone in the chain of islands thought they were about to die. Things like this are made infinitely more scary because of the behavior of people like Trump and Kim, who openly and brazenly talk about murder on a global scale. And while it might be true that Trump has not started another US war, officially he hasn't ended any of them either. The US has been at war officially in the Middle East for at least the last 20 years. We have combat operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, and Niger. Trump has also deployed a few thousand troops to Saudi Arabia to guard their oil fields at the end of last year. And while I think it's completely fair to say that Obama didn't deserve to be nominated for a Nobel Prize, much less win one, Trump could have very easily made himself eligible by ending one of our forever wars or getting us out of Yemen and Syria and actually helping to promote stability in the region. Trump has made it no secret that one of his goals as president is to undo everything Obama and the Democrats did before he came into office, most famously repeal Obamacare. But why he never took the US out of even one other country, I'll never understand. I mean, I wish we'd get out of all of them and stop killing innocent people and ignoring all our problems at home. But removing troops from even one country would have been a huge foreign policy win for him and a legitimate claim to have done something even Obama didn't do. So to conclude, is it fine that some weirdo keeps nominating Trump for these awards? I mean, on some level it is, because who cares what he thinks? But at the same time, the process for nomination absolutely needs to be updated. More importantly, does Trump deserve this award? Well, if you're enjoying the video or if you're learning something new, take a second and throw us a like, a comment, or subscribe. Every little bit helps the channel grow. For a comment, you can tell us what single event most qualifies or disqualifies Donald Trump for winning a Nobel Peace Prize. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of the video. In other news, COVID-19 cases are spiking in Wisconsin. No direct cause has been cited yet by public officials, but with schools and universities reopening, it's a safe bet many of the cases came from the extra person-to-person contact. Many schools have opted for virtual learning this year, but some have opened up for business as usual, including one of the biggest hotspots in the state, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which opened its on-campus dorms about 2.5 weeks ago. The incubation period for COVID-19 is anywhere from 6 to 14 days. If you look at this first graph, the US overall was actually seeing a large decline in COVID cases at the end of August, after cranking out 60 to 70,000 per day in June and July. At UW-Madison, while in-person classes were not taking place, there were students moving in and staff supervising and facilitating. Data from Dane County shows that a majority of the new cases are coming from the university, like a lot of data. Chancellor Rebecca Blank, in regards to COVID, says this, quote, wasn't the start to the semester that any of us wanted, but also that students already filled out their housing contracts, and she felt they did not want to be stuck at home with mom and dad. Look, hindsight is 20/20. I do not envy the chancellor's position or any other official that has to make the choices they do now in this COVID dystopia that we live in, but I think they made a really bad call on this one. I think the university was trying to do something to help their students, but I think they were also trying to avoid losing any more money this year, which would have happened if tons of students started canceling their housing contracts or unenrolled altogether. In an older video, I talked a lot about how the school is already losing a truckload of money because there won't be Big Ten football, among other sports, until at least the spring, if it happens at all this year. For more in-depth reporting on this story, go check out our previous video and check out Madison 365, either their website or over on Twitter. They have done some really great reporting on this issue and have followed the spike in cases closely. Now, as always, let's end with some good news. In the wake of the many Black lives taken by police in the US this year, a group of folks in Georgia decided it was critical for them to find a patch of land they could call their own. A collective of 19 families bought almost 100 acres of land for $1.7 million, and it sits about 130 miles south of Atlanta. They have dubbed this space Freedom, Georgia. Representatives of the collective say it is still important for people to keep protesting and bringing attention to the issues of racism, of inequality, and of justice reform, but they also felt personally that they needed to create a safe place for themselves and their families. Improvements and constructions are already underway with plans for a self-sustaining city, including farmland, a lake, and small businesses. Legacy is what they want to leave behind for their kids. Legacy is the key to the whole puzzle, because with America's awful history of racism, which has never fully been reckoned with, in comparison to white families, it is much harder for people of color to build a legacy to leave to their future generations. Now, that's not me saying that you can't be poor and white. You absolutely can. But what study after study has shown us is that things like black wealth and black home ownership are much harder to come by and maintain than white wealth or white home ownership. There are tons of studies out there and tons of great books on the subject. The charts you're seeing on screen are from the Urban Institute. I'll leave a link to this page in the description if you want to read more, which you should. Now, I love this story. I love it so much because here's a group of folks who look at their problems and said, let's work together and fix them, instead of waiting and hoping that the rest of the world will wake up. I don't know how many people are planning to live there or what their next steps are to making this a full city, but this is a story I'm going to follow with great interest. And that's it for today. Check back tomorrow for more headlines. Remember, you can also head over to yourforwardnews.com for more videos and full stories. Please take a second to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Every little bit helps us get found in the algorithm. You can also find us on Twitter. Give us a follow for frequent news and sarcasm. All right, y'all, stay safe, stay informed.